So exactly how do real estate showings work? I'll tell you, coming up right now on episode 12 of the Arizona Report. Real estate showing. So you're working with a real estate agent and you're not sure a variety of things about real estate showings. How long do they last? How many can I see in a day? And I'm going to answer those questions right now for you in this episode of the Arizona Report. Welcome. My name is David Meek. I'm a licensed Arizona real estate broker and editor and writer at the Arizona Report. Check out my website at arizonareport.com. My number here in the studio is 480-999-MOVE. Let's talk about real estate showings. So a real estate showing is when you have an opportunity to have a private viewing of a home for sale in your prospective buyer. There is the buyer's perspective on this issue, and there is the seller's perspective on this issue. First, I'll hit the buyer's perspective. One of the questions that I get most often is how long does a real estate showing last? The short answer, 15 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, and that's for a home that you want to see, but it's not a contender, and you see several in a day. About 15 minutes in and out. You want to get a good idea for the size, the layout, the backyard, the decor, and then you're out the door with your agent. The exception to this rule is the couple that comes in town from Massachusetts. They come in town to Phoenix and they're on a home buying mission and they're ready to look at homes all weekend. In those examples, I've shown buyers 20 or 30 homes in a weekend, but that can be exhausting for the buyer. You're running and getting meals in between showings with me, and you're trying to remember what you saw. 20 to 30 for out-of-town buyers in a weekend is a lot. But if you live in Phoenix and you're looking casually and there's no urgency to buying a home this weekend, 5 is really the maximum maximum number of homes that you want to see in one day. 3 is a good rule of thumb. So, hope that answers that question. How many times can I go back to see the home? As many as you want or as many as the seller will allow. But in my experience, when I've represented the sellers and the same buyer comes back 4 or 5 times, the seller starts to wonder, is this buyer going to make an offer? Are they serious, or are they just taking a look at these homes? So you'll certainly see the home once, maybe twice. A third time is good, but when you come back 4 and 5 times, it fatigues the seller a little bit from my perspective. So, how much advance notice should I give my agent if I want to see a home? The short answer is 24 hours. I would say 90% of the showing requests that I submit for my buyers are approved if I give the seller 24 hours notice. Now, if a property just comes on the market and it's the first day and it's a hot area and a very competitive price, that seller knows that he or she will have a lot of showing requests piling in, and you probably can call your agent, have the agent set the showing, and meet your agent over there within an hour or so to see the house. But generally speaking, you want to give the seller 24 hours notice. That gives them time to prepare the home, take the pets away, and get the home ready for your showing. How is a showing arranged? Your buyer's agent, your buyer's realtor, will probably schedule the showing one of 3 ways. They'll schedule through an app, they'll schedule by calling the listing agent directly or maybe the seller directly, or they'll schedule it on a website. And there's an email record of that too. There's a specific window. Generally, you want a half an hour or a 1 hour window for that showing. And that helps it get approved by the seller. For example, I will call and I will say to the listing agent, or I will schedule that showing between 4 and 4:30 or 4 and 5 o'clock, and I am sure that I take care to make sure that we are gone by the time our appointment window is up. If we're not, the seller comes back and wonders why we're still there. So that's why keeping a timely schedule with your realtor while you're out on these showing appointments is important. But You'll give the seller generally a half hour or a 1 hour window where you commit to being at the property and gone by the close of that window. Is the seller normally home? No. No, most of my showings, 95%, 96% of the time, the seller is not present, nor should they be. And I'll tell you more about that in just a second. Can I open the doors in the closets if I'm a buyer taking a look at a home? Yes. The sellers generally expect that you'll open doors and closets. If there's a locked garage or a locked bedroom, there will be an opportunity to see that later, and if it's locked, it's locked for a reason. Can I photograph inside the home? This is a tough issue. This is a really tough issue. If the home is occupied, someone's living there and they have private pictures, furniture, it is not a good idea to photograph inside the home unless you have the seller's permission. How do you work around this? Well, perhaps on your second showing or even on your first showing, you might have your agent call or email the listing agent to prepare the seller that you'll want to take photographs and just get their permission. It's fairly straightforward. If the home is a bank foreclosure or it's vacant and there's no furniture, that's a little bit more of a relaxed scenario where buyers of mine have taken photos just to refresh their memory. They'll have a couple photos on their smartphone. If the home is occupied, though, it's a safe bet that is not safe to do, and it's much better off to get the seller's permission. I've never had a seller say no, a prospective buyer cannot photograph inside the home, but it's always polite to ask. Can I measure for furniture or bring a designer into the home? Yes, absolutely, 100%. On the first showing, here's what I would do. I would save that for the second showing or the home inspection. If you are measuring every home that you go into, that's going to slow the schedule. The very first time that you get out and see these homes, you'll want to see several in quick succession and repeat that process over a couple of days. Then you're going to have a list where you can narrow, and you take that narrowed list and you go back and you pick your favorite, and then you can measure your favorite for furniture. That's a good rule of thumb for me. And as far as bringing a designer through, I encourage that, but I encourage that at a later stage as well. Second showing, third showing, or the home inspection is a good time to do that. What about bringing children on showings, extended family and children? I love kids. Kids make a lot of showings very fun. Your realtor is going to need, as the buyer, is going to need your attention to show you things about the property, and I think it's best that kids come along on the showings, but come along at a later appointment. You'll be absorbing a lot of information, experiencing these homes, learning about the age of the home and the lot size and all those dynamics. And it's hard to do that. I'm a parent too. When you have kids in the house, or they're in a different room, or they're in the backyard, you've got your mind in two places. So on the initial visits, my recommendation would be leave the kids at grandma's or get a babysitter. And then when you've narrowed the list and you've picked out your favorite top 1, 2, or 3 homes, that's the time to bring Aunt Linda and Uncle Jerry and the kids through the house. They can pick their bedrooms. That's a fun time for them to see the house that they're going to live in, and they can pick their bedrooms. So that's my direction and advice on bringing kids and extended families through on the showing appointments. Yes, but wait to do that later after you've narrowed your list. Is it okay to use the bathroom? I get that question a lot. Yes, it's generally accepted. I mean, we've all been out showing homes, and you just have to take a bathroom break. But very important point. Make sure the water in the house is on. I do this by turning on the faucet in the bathroom just to make sure I have water pressure. And after you finish, make sure that the toilet shuts off. And I listen for that before I lock up the house. You don't want to leave a toilet running in especially a vacant house. Sometimes this happens. Buyers say, well, here we are in front of the street. We've pulled up to the curb, and I don't like the house from the curb. I don't like the neighborhood. I don't like how the house looks. Do we really need to go inside? No, you don't. But in those instances, there's always something that is inside that house that you can use as a data point. It might have a great backyard, or it might have a large kitchen. Take 5 minutes. The seller has prepared the home for the showing, probably has turned the lights on. As a courtesy to that seller, take 5 minutes out of your time and gather the information on that house. It will give you another data point to compare the house that you eventually purchase to this one. And I've always found that it's a good idea to see additional homes, even when they don't look appealing from the street. Should I talk to the neighbors? I think neighbors are a great source of information about the neighborhood and about the house for sale. Neighbors will really tell you almost anything. You might approach one in the front yard or knock on the door and say, "My name's Bob. I'm thinking about purchasing this house next door. What can you tell me about the neighborhood?" And they will spill their guts. And neighbors are a great source of information about happenings in the neighborhood or specific events that have happened at this house that may or may not affect your motivation to purchase. And lastly, from the buyer's perspective, give your buyer's agent feedback, honest, direct feedback on what you like and what you don't like about the home. I like to think of this in terms of price, condition, and location. How does this price seem relative to the other homes that we've walked inside? Location. How do you like the location versus the competition? And the condition. What about the condition of this home do you like, or would you change? Hey, the kitchen's outdated, the bathrooms are too small, but I love the size of the backyard. Your agent will take that feedback and probably, in many cases, email it to the listing agent. But I do that as a courtesy. Many agents do that as a courtesy to the seller. Now, from the seller's perspective, can I stay home during the showing even if I'm in the backyard and out of the buyer's way? I highly discourage this. It's very distracting for the buyer. And this happens to me on rare occasions where I arrive at a property. The seller's very nice. They open the door. They offer cookies. They stay out of the way. They're in the backyard. It's very intimidating for buyers to have the seller right around the corner or within earshot. The buyer can't speak freely with his or her realtor, and they can't feel themselves inside the house. They don't feel like it is at a point where they can evaluate that home for their needs. So, can I stay home during my real estate showings? Sellers, I would say absolutely not. Take a drive, go get a sandwich, come back in a half an hour or an hour, but let that buyer and that realtor see your home with no pressure, and chances are, eventually that's going to generate an offer. Pets. Next question, pets. Should I leave the pets at home during the showing? My answer on this too is no. If you've got a parakeet or a goldfish, that's fine. But if you have cats or large dogs, make arrangements to get them to a neighbor's house or to a family member's house during these showings. Yes, it's a hassle, but I have chased cats around neighborhoods. Cats dart outdoors. I've chased lots of cats and a few dogs around neighborhoods to bring them back when sellers have left them at the showings. And certainly, if you have an aggressive breed of dog or a loud dog, it's a bad move to leave them at the home. They're just, I've walked into houses with buyers before where there's a loud dog barking and I can't hear my buyer's questions, and it's very distracting. So aggressive or loud dogs, leave them at a friend or family member's house. Candles and odors. Some of my seller clients like to, they'll light a candle, or they'll take some vanilla extract and put it on a piece of foil and put the piece of foil in the oven, and that technique makes the house smell like chocolate chip cookies, and that's wonderful. But some people don't like odors. And when you are showing a property, a buyer might say, boy, there's 17 air fresheners in this home, 17 lemon-scented air fresheners in this home. What's the seller trying to cover up? Is there a mold odor? And scents and odors are very distracting. So my recommendation is no candles, no odors, no wall plugs. How do you prepare your home for a showing? you'll want to maximize the daylight. So you're going to open all of the windows and turn all of the lights on. Even if it's a bright sunny day, you want to maximize the light inside your home. A gas fireplace too, if it's appropriate. I wouldn't leave a wood fireplace burning and leave the house, but a gas fireplace if you're nearby, put it on for the showings. Put the grate up. There's nothing worse from a buyer's perspective and a buyer's agent's perspective than arriving to a very dark house where the blinds are drawn and all of the lights are turned off. First of all, the agent's going to spend the first 10 minutes flipping on all the lights to the house, and that's an opportunity where the agent is not engaging the buyer and sharing with them the benefits of the property. So all the windows open, all the blinds up, turn all of the lights on, and maximize the daylight. Sellers will ask, when can I go back home? You should get a notification. Sometimes you'll get a notification from your listing agent that the property showing has concluded. But certainly you will know when the appointment is scheduled, you'll know when that window is terminated, and you'll go home at that time. If there's somebody still in the driveway or the agents and the buyers are standing around the house, give them a little bit of space because they might like your house and want to consider an offer. So circle the block and come back. Special features. If your home has a feature, something about the pool or the solar panels is unique to your home and you think that would be a selling benefit, I enjoy it when a seller will leave a note on the kitchen counter, something like this, and they say, don't miss this feature in the backyard, or the listing agent will leave marketing materials that point out special features in the home. That helps me as the buyer's realtor better understand what I'm looking at and might give your home an advantage when the buyer is thinking about their narrowing their list. If you want the lights of the home to be turned out, leave a message for the agent, the showing agent, to turn out the lights. And lastly, the feedback. You'll get the feedback. Earlier I talked about a buyer's agent collecting price, condition, and location thoughts, pros and cons from the buyer. But and I pass those along to the seller via email or phone message. And a seller should be able to call the listing agent and say, hey, the showing from last Tuesday, were we a contender? What did they think about price, condition, and location? And as the seller, that information will give you a library to collect and find out how buyers are perceiving your listing relative to the other homes out there on the market. So that's it. How do real estate showings work? Episode 12 of the Arizona Report. My name is David Meek. Please visit me on my website, ArizonaReport.com. My phone number here in the studio, 480-999-MOVE. That's 480-999-6683. Thank you very much for joining us. Check out my other videos, and we'll see you in the next episode.